and then she walked out of the room. I had to face everyone at work the next day. As soon as I walked in, I saw Will sitting at his computer. He's a big sports fan. I knew in the split second that I saw him that his reaction would be a good gauge of how bad things were going to be, and it was bad. He looked at me as if my parents had been killed in a car accident. His eyes showed nothing but sadness for me. I would have rather been teased. When the show started, Howard, who doesn't care about sports, recounted a conversation he had with his father the day before. It began harmlessly with his dad saying he was just watching the Mets game. Then it quickly led into the pitch. Howard said how his dad had told him that I had thrown the worst pitch ever. I never saw a pitch like this in my life. Wow, Howard told his dad, this is Gary's worst nightmare. I'm thrilled because we just found the first 2 hours of Monday's show. It's the single most embarrassing moment in the history of first pitches. Then he handed the show over to Artie. He was brutal. I just saw Lance Bass throw out the first pitch, he said. Gary was so nice. He was doing this for Autism Day and threw it out like he was autistic. Artie's a great storyteller, and he told a doozy about an older guy who was an usher at Citi Field. I knew this usher from Shea. He's a great guy, and he happened to be on the field for the pitch. I noticed him talking to Artie, and afterward, the expression on his face was if he had just watched the Zapruder film. During the show, Artie added the dialogue that I missed while I was walking off the mound. Artie, man, that pitch was gay. Usher, that pitch was gayer than a guy sucking another guy's dick, and I should know. I was a cop for years, and I saw a lot of guys sucking dick. That hurt. A lot. I always liked that guy, and I couldn't believe he would take a shot at me like that. I was down, and Artie was pummeling me. I worried about my kids going to school and being made fun of. Even though they told me everything was fine and no one made a big deal about it, Artie said, they're lying. They're miserable. It's still a sore spot for me, but on the air at least, I really had no choice but to take it. We've mocked so many people. When Chris Rock threw out the first pitch at a game once and it was less than stellar, I destroyed him. Over the next 3 weeks, the video went viral. It wasn't just that I looked so bad and it was embarrassing. It hurt my credibility. I'm the guy in the show who knows sports. I love sports. People assume because I couldn't throw a pitch, I couldn't have a discussion about sports anymore. The world was divided into two types of people. The ones who were nice and tried to make me feel better, but only made it worse, and the guys who laughed at me and thought I was a fucking tool. Mary was in her own get the fuck over it category. The Thursday after the pitch, I had to coach one of Jackson's baseball games, and I was afraid to warm up with the kids. I wondered if everyone was going to be looking at me funny. My saving grace was that a prominent married guy in town had just been busted for trolling hookers online and was on the front page of the New York Post. For a month, I was in a funk. The turning point came on Memorial Day. I was at a neighbor's barbecue. Another neighbor, whom I respect a lot and coached with, was there too. He is level-headed and empathetic. He told me that he felt for me. He said he watched me out there every day working with Jackson in the front yard. Then he told me that he played soccer in college. He was a goalie at a small school that had made it to the title game. Late in the game, he lost his concentration for less than a minute, a few seconds tops, but it happened to be the exact moment when someone took a shot. It went right by him. I was the villain on my campus for a few weeks, he said. He was the first person after the pitch who didn't mock me or try to tell me it wasn't a big deal or pretend to be nice. He just had a conversation with me about it, and he told me that one day I would feel better. He was right. Pretty soon I stopped thinking about it every minute of every day. And then a few months after the pitch, I found out that the famous usher, whom Artie quoted, had actually never said anything. I was doing a Gadget Gary segment for the CW11 TV station in New York, and the usher's son worked there. He came up to me and he said, my father never said that stuff. He wanted to call the show but decided not to because he didn't want to draw attention to it. Later that summer, when I was back at Citi Field for a game, the usher apologized and told me how bad he felt because he had never said anything. Not that I'm over it, nor ever will be. Whenever anyone makes a bad first pitch, Sean Johnson, the mayor of Cincinnati, please watch. Theirs are way worse than mine. I know that a reference to me in the video of my pitch is coming next. I actually haven't thrown a ball since then. I can't do pitching practice anymore for Little League, and if I'm coaching third base and the ball rolls my way, I just lob it back to the pitcher underhanded. The pitch has seriously traumatized me. In the winter of 2010, I actually got a call from someone at the Autism Society asking me if I would throw out the first pitch again in the upcoming season. He was really pressuring me because it would attract so much attention and raise so much money, but I couldn't do it. I get the dry heaves now just watching other people throw out a first pitch. But some good did come out of it. I put the ball and the jersey that I wore that day up for auction at a Life Beat charity event. Hein tried to keep me from doing it because he thought I'd want to hold on to them for sentimental value. I never want to see these things again, I told him. One of the show's sponsors paid $18,000 for it. He takes the ball around the country with him when he travels, and if he sees a celebrity, asks him to take a picture with it. I've got one of Tony Hawk smiling with the ball. I'm glad it brought someone some joy.
And now more conversation with the Booey.
I'm talking to Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin Burkhardt is, what's your exact title? Roving reporter, on-field?
Field reporter, I guess, is the exact title.
Field reporter. But he works for the New York Mets. And the reason I asked Kevin to be part of this is two reasons. First of all, he's a huge fan of the show. But second of all, Kevin was there the day I threw my first pitch. And there's a big chapter in the book about the first pitch. It takes you from the day I sort of agreed to do it till, the whole aftermath. And it was some pretty crazy stuff. So I guess my first question for you, Kevin, was, you guys were all there that day. Like, sort of, if you could bring me behind the scenes, like, what was the initial reaction?
The funny part is, Gary, I don't even know if you know this, is that, having listened to the show, obviously, I'd heard what you guys were talking about, and, your practice and your coaching, and so knew you were going to be there, but, we had kind of set it up. I always wanted to have you on during the games because I knew you were a huge fan, and so it was just the perfect day to have you on, because, since you were there representing the autism charity. So the crazy thing about it is I didn't see the pitch when you did it. I was actually doing something underneath the ballpark, so I never saw it. I had heard by the time I got to you the horror stories that it was pretty bad. And then, bottom line is, came up to talk to you and interview you during the game, and at that point I had still not seen the pitch. As a matter of fact, I hadn't even talked to the guys in the truck about it. It just happened to be that while, again, I had talked to the security guards. They just see the pitch. It was brutal. I can't believe how bad Gary was, the whole thing. So then, I get up and we're talking, and we're going to go on there and do the interview. And as I'm doing the interview, I mentioned the first pitch, which I still haven't seen. And then the producer, my producer in the truck, says, "Hey, we've got that on tape. Roll it in." So when they rolled it in, and we both looked at that TV that was right above us, I was watching it for the first time.
So was I.
That was.
I really was. I was watching it for the first time, and I talk in the book about how, okay, it's contained to Citi Field. I just made a fool of myself in front of 45,000 people. I can live with that, and word will get out, and everyone has video cameras. And then when I saw it up there, I was like, holy shit. And then I was like, okay, at least it's only the tri-state area. And in the book, I talk about how it sort of grew virally and just got it completely out of control.
It just went out of control, right? I mean, did you, when you watched it, now, again, I had heard, but when I saw it, obviously it was out there. Did you realize when you watched it that it was